So everyone says Speed Queen is by far the best. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with them, but I'm not saying that they're the best because of the latest innovations or anything like that at all. In fact, I'm going to say that Speed Queen is the best because they suck the least. They've changed the least and have continued building practices since probably the 70s. To prove my point, this, believe it or not, came out of a smoker's house, is a 35-year-old Whirlpool. Let's get this apart and show you why this 35-year-old Whirlpool is much better than anything built today, and is sort of why Speed Queen is the best. So let's take this apart. So within a matter of about 2 minutes, this entire Whirlpool has been taken apart to where I can get to everything. Now, this is a timer-based system, no electronics. Very few things to go wrong on this. If you look and listen, that is metal. Good, solid. Look at this. The pump down here, extremely easy to get to. Now, down here is sort of where things get a little different from what Speed Queen does currently. But if you take this basic frame and motor setup, the way this motor is on here, you're looking very closely to a modern Speed Queen. Now, this is not belt driven. The modern Speed Queens are belt driven. If you notice, you have a few springs. Here's one, there's another. Not as many as a modern Speed Queen, but the basic principle of the frame and not springs will make these so stinking reliable. Now, this Whirlpool was built during a time when you could work on things yourself. As you see, I have my entire diagram here for what goes where. It's a little bit faded and a little bit warped, but I can still read it. I'm not sure how it's picking up on camera, but look at this. This tells you everything you need to know on this particular washing machine. I mean, look at this. Look at how easy this is. Look at how easy this is to change these water inlets. This is 35 years old and has had a hard life. And look at this. I actually used this thing yesterday. Amazing how this thing still works. I'm gonna go ahead and put up a picture between this and a modern day Speed Queen so you can sort of see the differences. Like I said, this is not belt driven. It has fewer springs than a modern Speed Queen, but it is timer based. This machine still stinking works. 35 plus years old, still working. No leaks, nothing. And it has had a hard life. It's not so much the Speed Queen is the greatest. I'm not going to argue that they are not the greatest. I'm not arguing that at all. Currently, right now, right this very second, if you had to spend your hard-earned money on the most reliable machine, that's what it would be. But it's really only because they stuck to the fundamentals of a machine like this, a 35-year-old Whirlpool. And they didn't go with the modern day Samsung look with the springs and whatnot. This was the pinnacle of washing machines, and everybody got away from it because they're too stinking reliable. No one was making their money on them. Of course, there's a little bit of government outreach in this as well, due to the water consumption acts and things like that make these machines sort of unfriendly to the government because they want you to use less water. This machine doesn't do that, as it has no sensors. But man, if we could go to something built like this with modern day sensors, you'd have a Speed Queen. That's why they're so much more reliable. Not necessarily because they're the greatest ever built, but because they stuck to the fundamentals of the greatest ever built. Hope it helps. Thank you much. Side note, I completely forgot to mention this 35-year-old washing machine has self-leveling feet. See that? Self-leveling feet. It's like they were thinking about you 35, 40 years ago. Crazy.